Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. D, Guild Daddy D, just plain D, coming at you with the July 24th NAEU patch notes. This one's going to be huge. We've got all the combat updates. I went over it a little bit on the Global Labs patch notes, but to be honest with you, I'm debating whether or not to even go through it. It is going to be a beast unto itself. A lot of it's going to be conjecture on how your class feels after the patch. Any feedback is welcome. I've kind of met with a few people in my guild and we've discussed the changes in the combat system, and we've all, after many hours of Council of Nicaea level debate and arguing and bantering back and forth, we've kind of come to the conclusion that it's such a dramatic change, we really don't know how it's going to shape up. We're just going to have to dive into the classes. We're going to have to look for feedback. We're going to have to sift through the tears, sift through the gnashing of teeth and the ripping of clothes, and go through all the people in the forums and online trying not to, self-harm themselves, and just see how it shakes out. So we're going to start off with some light duty stuff and go right into the events. The events today, starting out with Baby Vel. Get your character down to the Sea Palace. Let's do the Baby Vel. Doom or doo-doo, whatever they call it. If you've never done this event before, you need to transform into one of these turtle guys. There's geysers down there that launch you up into the air. You go onto the roof of the tall shrine right in the middle of the Sea Palace, and then from there you get launched into the air once again towards Baby Vel, which is straight ahead of the Sea Palace, and you launch your bubble attack. Ba-boom. Just gotta hit them once. So to get into the Sea Palace, Land of the Morning Light, or West of Velia, you jump into the Whirlpool, you go down there, Coastal Cliff, and Old Duel Straight, whatever. And when you go down there, you do Baby Vel, and let's see, you get your bubbly diving suit if you haven't. The quest can only be completed once per family during the event, so maybe we get a second one. I don't know. That is up. But those are kind of cool looking. You wear it, you get underwater breathing plus 30 seconds, where if you're a coral gatherer or just somebody who likes to go under there, go for it. Miss Turt, yes, you do the quest, etc., etc. Let's get down to the Baby Vel rewards. Oh, this is the race. Okay, yep. So one of the events down there is a race. You participate in the race, you run around, you choose who the winner is, and based on whether it's the one or the other, you get the rewards. And here is Baby Vel. Baby Vel, as you can see, you transform into the shell folk, you launch up into the air, and you throw your bubbles. As you can see, there's the tall building in the middle of the shrine. Baby Vel is going to spawn like right about here, so you're going to get launched from like up here in the corner up to the top of the building, and then you're going to face this way, and you're going to shoot your bubble at Baby Vel. You can get up to 100 G gold bar, coral pieces, Caphras. Coral, the Baby Vel's Roaring Bundle is what you want. And if we want to look to see what's in there, you get a Vel reward bundle, and that's it. So you can get Vel's concentrated heart, maybe? Right here. Baby Vel's Roaring Bundle. Yes, you can get Vel's concentrated magic. That, the Cron Stones, and the Caphras are absolutely worth it. The 1000 G gold bars, absolutely worth it. If you don't know what to do with the coral, you can use that to either make jade coral ingots, which people buy to build ships. You can also use that coral to make the Manos coral belt, which is the best in slot for weight, things like that. Crow coin bundles are always good, etc., etc. There's nothing but good rewards from Baby Vel. Head to the Underwater Palace. And then item copy, Caphras Extraction Event. This is going to be self-explanatory, I'm hoping. You get 1 silver each and 100% extraction rate, so now is your chance to extract all your Caphras if you're hard re-rolling, if you don't like the combat changes. Item copies, just 1 Marnie's Unstable Fuel. Tag a new tune, try a new class, figure it out. And this is just saying what item copy is. Okay. Those are the events. Now, combat system overhaul. So this is where we're going to go. And let me see if this is all there is with the patch notes. In fact, let me scroll up here, because we might just go... Let's cover the item mount and stuff like that first, and then we'll come back to the combat system, because the combat system really is crazy. Yeah, that's talking about item changes. Merv's carry-on bag. So this is where they're getting rid of Patriglio's bag, and they're giving you Merv's carry-on bag. they've automatically adjusted it so that if you had Petriglios, it will now be in Mervs, and it's an 8 slot. It says, let's see, Mervs, yeah, 8 slot, and then the Petriglios extra large apparel bag will be transported to 40 slots for just storing outfit stuff. So you're going to have that, so you can start clearing out your pearl inventory. I know some of us have had, I don't know, maxing out pearl inventory. Mount adjusted so horse damage no longer scales with your AP. Was that a thing? Changed so you cannot use mouse movement while performing horse attack skills. So mouse movement was disabled in this patch. We'll get to that with the combat changes. Quest and knowledge, adventure log rewards. So this is where it's unified all with Igor Bartali. For those of you who have been putting off doing your adventure journal, now is the time to catch up. I think you could get a total of like 9 AP and DP going through this. So just go talk to Igor, get all of your adventure journals done, get all of your family-wide HP, AP, DP, stamina, etc. This is going to be like stupid easy upgrades for anybody who hasn't done them. That's the first thing you should do after this patch. Pit of the Undying, they are making it so that it's, instead of daily quests, it's now a weekly, and it gives you much more rewards. For those of you who don't know what Pit of the Undying is, this is a arena style 1v1 where you go against bosses. You do it to get rewards. If you want to see what the rewards are in game, you can click your unified currency tab, which is a little treasure chest on the top little icon, and you go to, let's see, Undying. Seal. Nope, that's not right. We're just going to scroll down till I see him. And let's see, Seal, I think they're Seal of the Undying maybe? Yeah, Seal and the Undying. You can get a combat skill XP exchange coupon, so that's huge if you want a hard reroll. You get a Crow's Sacred chest, which could have concentrated magic or a bunch of other stuff in there. You get Resplendent Alchemy Stones, which are worth like 300 million. A lot of people go for the Crow Coin bundles. Find accessory boxes. Unfortunately, they don't have Debos in them. And etc, etc. Otherwise, you could just exchange them 1 for 1 for crons, which is typically, you know, what a lot of people do if they've already got the other stuff. So Pit of the Undying is something that I would highly suggest. I mean, it's super easy up to level 3. Level 4 and 5 takes a little difficulty because you have to pay more attention to mechanics. If you don't mind mechanics at all, by all means. And the Seal of the Undying that you get that goes into your tome slot will actually give you up to plus 25% combat XP. So it's a really good thing that you could use for your family when you're grinding for season tunes or whatnot. Just throw that on. This talks about how many seals you get. And let's see, simplified prerequisite quests. So this is for all of the family items. Family inventory weight limit, family inventory, Nader's ban, crystal presets, Marnie suspicious device to do item copying, the fish tank, which I highly suggest everybody should do, the green artisan gathering minigame, huge. If you don't know what that is, I covered it in Global Labs. Hit P, go to the last tab of life skill. On the top left, you'll see a little toggleable thing called gathering. You need to do that. That triggers the mini game when you gather. To give an example, I was doing sap the other night, and if if I typically walk up to a tree and get sap, I get about 20 sap. If it triggers the mini game and I'm successful in the mini game, I get 300. So it drastically increases your gathering game. So make sure you're doing all these, especially now that they're simplified. Basically, that's PA saying you really shouldn't have any excuse to get these done. Camping tool, if you're cheap and you haven't bought a tent. If you are looking for an excuse to swipe in this game, there's really only 2 things that I highly recommend. Weight and the tent. The tent allows you to repair mobily, so that's huge. It also allows you to store things in it and get buffs on the fly. So that is one of those things where if you're going to swipe on anything, use one of your 20% off coupons to get a tent. And your instruments for your shy, your sealed fairy wings. If you don't have a max level fairy by now, what are you doing? Instruments, tier 5 pet training. I went for the loot drop one, so I get a plus 5% loot drop on my pet, but it's up to you. NPC Amity buff removal. This is where they were talking about, I think this is where you don't have to have Amity to get the buff anymore. Yeah, we're committed to making content more convenient, or you just can't get the buffs anymore, period. Remove the Amity requirements for receiving the Audier's Blessing and Window's Blessing. So added completion to a simplified quest as a requirement to accept new returning adventurers' exclusive quests to reward Cliff's. So this is talking about Cliff's weapon box. And then new and return adventurers can now proceed to the next quest based on the main quest path and current level after completing Chapter 11 of Fugar's Memorandum, if you do the simplified quest for your quest line. Node and Conquest War, adjusted buffs from skills, passives, and skill add-on to be applied outside of stat limits, allowing each class to better utilize their unique traits. Improved so that when a character is affected by debuffs, stat reductions are now taken from within stat limits. Reduce siege weapon damage by 50% due to the removal of the Blessing Guild skill. The reduction amount has been determined in proportion to the previous effects of the guild skill. Increase damage dealt to certain structures and mounts by approximately 1.5 times when using the ballista. And that'll be the wooden fence, the flimsy wooden fence, the siege tower, the barricades. Moving down to UI, improve the equipment My Stats for a clearer and more intuitive display of your character's detailed stats. Added a new View Bonus Stats section that lets you easily check bonus stats based on your displayed AP and DP. So this is where it's going to give you the breakdown of, okay, exactly how am I getting my stats? What do I need to buff to get better? Where do I stand for PvE versus PvP? Adjusted the artifact presets in your artifact inventory to now appear in their own separate window. Added Doom Color to the UI that displays the number of guild mounts owned. Fix the issue and find NPC storage by territory where the 3 locations for Mountain of Eternal Winter, Land of the Morning Light, and Ulukita were messed up. Fix the capital of Ulukita and the world map territory information to be correctly displayed as Musgur. Changed mount type and horse tier displays so text will no longer be cut off with ellipses. Upper screen improvements for cooking and alchemy. As part of the UI improvements, today's update brings changes to the notifications. Normally they would pop up repeatedly, which would become distracting. They've changed it. So remove the notification message that used to appear in the center of the screen. You can still check results through an item drop log. Enhancement UI improvements. They're still working on the enhancement UI, where all the enhancements are going to be in their own storage. So it also says, along with streamlining enhancement terminology, we're finalizing new features like an enhancement exclusive inventory. So yeah, okay, so that was supposed to come by July 30th. It's going to be delayed a little bit. Translations. Changed a few translations. And then just a few outfit changes. Okay. So if you're not interested in the combat changes, now would be your time to bug out. If you are interested in the combat changes, buckle up, there are a lot. So we're going to jump right in and just say, the whole purpose of this, according to PA, was that they wanted to get a more unified experience regardless of what class you played. And how to do that while maintaining the integrity of each class and the uniqueness of each class, we'll see if they hit the mark or not. Their concern was, according to the Heidel Ball, the forums, feedback, Discord, etc., was that, especially for PvP, you've got 3 or 4 classes that everybody plays, right? And everybody was saying that no matter what your skill level, no matter what, if you play a certain class, you're OP compared to other classes. I will say to some degree that is accurate, not 100%, but you're talking to somebody who played a DK main for close to 7 years, and the DK main has, no matter how much DP I put on that tune, and it just, you know, there are some classes, like a striker can go out there with 60 DP and face tank anything in the game. A DK could have 500 DP and get one shot by Nagas, right? It's just, and I'm exaggerating to make the point. So, but then again, that is part of what makes the class differentiation a good thing, right? So that you and I playing different classes aren't doing the same monkey clicks, right? So, did PA hit it so that they're not causing every class in the game to be identical? And it doesn't matter what class you play. Basically, we're all playing the same character with different skins. Or did they preserve the integrity of diversity? We're going to use that word. While still helping to unify the combat system. That is the question here. So, balancing base stats across classes, they adjusted the differences in the following base stats for each class: AP increase, DP decrease, special attacks damage increase. So, and they said for detailed changes, please go to class specifics. They changed how special attack damage effects from skills stack. So they will now stack together for special attacks, and then individual special attack damage, such as back attack and crit damage increase, do not stack with each other. However, individual special attack damage and all special attack damage effects will stack. For example, crit hit damage increase and all special attack damage increase will stack. Example 2, if you have back attack damage plus 10 and back attack damage plus 15, you'll only get the 15%. You'll get the higher of them. And example 3, if you have a back attack damage plus 10 and a crit hit damage plus 5, those two will stack. So basically what they're saying is if you can't overstack back attack damage. You can't end up with 3,000% back attack damage. It's only going to take the highest one of the stats, and then everything that doesn't match, it'll stack. So they're also getting rid of resistances. Changes to resistance and ignore resistance stats. Change it so resistance stats no longer apply in PvP, and remove ignore resistance stats as a result. Adjusted the effects of certain passive skills for some classes that previously increased or ignored resistance. Adjusted the effects of certain unique buff skills or some classes that previously increased or ignored resistance, and changed or remove resistance, increase, decrease, or ignore resistance effects for certain classes in line with these resistance. Once again, it says for details, go to your specific class. Standardize all characters' base resistances to 20%. Standardize the base resistance for Zerker, Witch, and Wizard to 20%. So the grapple skills. Grapple skills are now going to be broadcasted. There's going to be short, medium, and long range, and they're going to have different broadcast times. So, like 0.3 second startup time before activating for the short and medium, and then it looks like 0.4 seconds for the long skill. So, you know, and those of you who are familiar with PvP will understand the broadcast. And it's either going to fail or succeed. If it fails, there will be a 0.3 second or right here, or 0.4 second animation where you might just feel stunned or whatever. I don't know yet. If it succeeds, it will succeed. Summon damage calculation formula changes. Change so the character's special attack damage increase effects now apply to the summons. Change so buffs that increase damage now also boost summons damage. Example, applies in places such as Yezrahid Highlands, Tungrid Ruins, and Gyfin Raja Temple Underground. In PvP, monster-related stats such as monster damage reduction and monster damage reduction rate no longer affect damage taken from summons. Changed so summons no longer become stronger at night, and adjusted the base damage of summons to keep their overall power about the same after these changes. Reduce the damage of direct attacks by summons except for the Black Spirit skills by 36.5%. Accuracy and evasion are removed. Merge accuracy and accuracy rate, as well as evasion and evasion rate, to make character stats easier to understand. So they removed the accuracy rate and converted each 1% into accuracy plus 4. Removed evasion rate and converted each 1% into evasion. No mouse movement during skill use. You can still use it during gathering and basic movement. And then this is notes on classes or changes per class. Today's update brings significant changes. Notably, classes that previously relied on mouse movements and shy signature skill Misty Haze have undergone adjustments that players will definitely notice, i.e. they're expecting whining. We approach these changes with great care. While we understand some of you may be disappointed, please know that the tweaks are necessary. It's important to note that today's patch is just a starting point. We'll keep an eye on all the salt and the tears. Changes for all class. Infinite Mastery from 1 to 4 is now added accuracy plus 18 per skill level for a total of accuracy of 108. Added all accuracy per skill level. Warrior. You're not getting any resistances anymore. You're getting HP and AP, and you're getting less minus DP on hits. And there you go. I'm just going to briefly show each class. You can pause the screen to read through this. I think Global Labs took me a little over an hour, but just, you know, we covered the basics. All the resistances and the negative resistances have gone away. You know, I know popular classes like this, you're getting a little more attack. And then reduce the skill damage multiplier for Berserker by 4.41% due to increase in AP. So what that means is, like, you know, where it says times 1600 times 8 times or whatever, they reduce that a bit because your melee AP went from 16 to 28 on this attack. So they're adjusting it to try to make sure that all of the classes are going to hit about the same as they did before. The major thing is they kind of want to see how the resistances and the grabs and the mouse movement change things. So, you know, most of the tank classes or melee classes got HP. Some of these classes you'll see as we scroll down, I think Moose is one of them. Yeah, instead of all resistances, you're getting evasion. You know, so some of you who play evasion classes are going to really, you know, shine with more evasion. But then again, we'll see how that works with accuracy. So as we go down through here, the other thing I really want to cover is the major thing is the class breakdown on who does more damage to who. There's another evasion class, Lon. DK gets neglected. They get 1 sentence. You know, I'm so bitter still. I'm sorry. Everybody else gets paragraphs, but you know, Coursera, there you go, gets evasion. She's a newer class. Megu gets one sentence, so okay, in the same boat. Okay, so the damage ratios. So all of the classes are divided into Succession and Awakening. We all know this. Well, now all the Succession and Awakening of each class are divided into groups called Vanguard, Skirmisher, and Pulverizer. Think of it as like tanks, ranged, and support, or something. So, and this is how it works. Anybody in the Vanguard will do 5% more damage to anybody in the Pulverizers. So, tanks, you'll kill the accessory classes, right? The people that run in, like the ninjas, the kunos, the dark knights, deadeyes, wizard witch, you know, the people that stand on the sidelines and kind of, you know, guerrilla warfare type. Skirmishers, which is your long range, deal 5% to Vanguards, which is you do an extra 5% towards your tanks. And Pulverizers, which are your accessory or hit and runs, will do an extra 5% to the range classes. So we'll see how this shakes out. I mean, you know, for instance, Suck Zerk, Suck Warrior, Awaken Shy, you know, Awaken Velk. Those are all your tank classes. Suck Guardian, things like that. Yeah, a lot of this is just going to be, let's see how it feels. So that's one of the major things I wanted to make sure to cover. This has adjusted the PvP damage ratios for all class skills to match the unified base damage. So if a class previously had a 100% PvP damage ratio, both PvP and PvE damage have been increased. Shy's PvP base damage ratio has been increased by 38.14%, and this increase is directly applied to the Shy's PvP damage. So Zerk got a 24. Let's see if anybody got more. Oh, no. Zerk and Tamer, you're at the top of the leaderboard. Item changes. This is, they're clarifying the updated species damage so that, I thought this was going to be where they were going to say extra AP against players, or what did they say, characters? They're coming out with different wording because they want to move the humans, or maybe they did it. They wanted to specify the difference between humans PvE and humans PvP. Remove the following skill add-on effects: extra AP against monsters, extra damage to humans. Added the extra AP against adventurers. There you go. So I guess how this works is if you're going against humans, it's going to be PvE. If you're going extra AP against adventurers, it's PvP. So that's going to be a big change. And you're also going to see a bunch of big change in your crystals, your slots that you have your crystal slotted, as well as your light stones. So make sure you're double checking. You're going to really have to soft reroll on everything on your character, even if you're not changing classes. This is going to be a lot of work, so it's going to be like when your UI gets wiped. So that's going to be affected on crystals, weapons, and buffs. Bonus extra AP against monsters. When your displayed AP reaches 310 or higher, you'll gain extra AP against monsters plus 8 for additional AP. So hopefully this will give us all better grind speeds, right? So like for instance, if you have a Kudum at a pen, you had 62, now you have 166 AP against monsters. So, but wait, it might not give us faster grind speeds, because if we scroll down a little more, yes, they're getting resistance removal. They also increase the AP caps for different grind spots, and we'll get there. So everything that had ignore resistance is gone. It now gives you resistance, I guess. 10%. It gives you accuracy, weight limit, accuracy. Okay. So Elcars, Kudums, what else does everybody use? That's about it. Remove the ignore resistance effect from all the following items. Change some effects of the simple cron meal before down attack damage. Now it's back attack damage plus 5%, crit hit damage plus 5%. Deleted all items with ignore resistance effects, and you're going to get your center market value, which I would love to see how much that is. I'm going to have to check that when I switch over. Deleted Arena of Solaire exclusive crystals that gave ignore resistance. Removed Essence of Courage and Fragment of Courage, which were used to craft ignore resistance items. So you're going to get a bunch of silver for that. If you owned a box that guaranteed an Essence of Courage, you'll get silver. And if you removed Essence of Courage from an item exchange list below, grapple resistance increase effect removed. So, like I said, now it's either going to succeed or fail, and it's based on the person launching it. Change the item effect to knockdown bomb resistance with the removal of the grapple resistance. The amount of resistance provided remains unchanged. They got rid of the Lightstone combinations that give you ignore resistance. Guild skills that gave you resistance are gone. The location of boost morale has been changed. And we're removing the blessing skill for Node War and Conquest War alongside the combat system overhaul and adjusted siege weapon damage accordingly. Ship damage adjustments. This is where ships in PvP will do 45 to 55% less damage to other ships. They're also adding a damage reduction to the description of ship items. And then sea crystals will either affect now grant both at once. So you can get an extra damage to ships and extra damage to sea monsters. Debuff resistances against monsters removed. Previously, when a monster applied a debuff, the game performed two separate checks. First against your regular resistance, and then against your debuff, giving you two chances to block the debuff. With the new combat system, only your resistance stat is used against all monster debuffs. So this is where deleted the debuff resistance against monsters effects and changed some items effects. So now they just give you more resistance. So Elixir of Resistance now just gives you 5, Sharp Resistance is 8%, and the Vamalkia Captured Sunset gives you all resistance plus 100%. You are ultimate power. Monster and Monster Zone updates. The goal of the balance update is to ensure that adventurers can achieve optimal efficiency by fighting in zones that match their current AP. As a result, you may notice reduced efficiency if you subjugate in zones where your AP exceeds. So, looking down through here, for instance, like, where does everybody grind nowadays? Let's just say, well, Golden Pig Cave was 340, now it's 345. Ash Forest was 340, 345, 310, 325. So they're just trying to make sure people continue on and move up, and they don't all. I don't know how I feel about this, because for me, I don't grind for silver. I know, right? Yeah, I'll say 3 Hail Marys later. I grind for items, right? I'm either grinding for accessories, for crons, for devourers or hungers. I'm grinding for treasure pieces. So for me, I'm kind of an odd duck. But for those of you who do grind for money, hopefully this will push you to the higher zones. Max AP limit changes. So this is talking about max AP limit has been raised. And this is where I'm kind of hoping that now change the max AP. Now only 5% of any AP above the limit will count. So I'm hoping that this will give us an easier grind. For instance, those of us who are down in Hystria to grind for the compass or whatever else. We'll have to see. A lot of this is just going to be getting into the game over the next week or two and seeing how it feels. And also, depending on the feedback, seeing what they roll back. Adjusted the loot obtainable from monster zones with recommended AP at 270 or higher according to each zone's recommended AP. Changed Fortunate Golden Pig Cave monsters to now be affected by DP reduction effects. Agris Fever, they're reducing the amount of agris that different zones take. We're setting agris fever consumption per hour on live servers to range between 20 and 30,000 depending on the zone's difficulty. This way the silver you earn with agris will better match each monster zone's difficulty. So their Jade Starlight Forest reduced, Primal Giants, Underground Temple, Olin's, Ash, Crypt, drastically reduced. Hex Sanctuary, Achman's, Hystria, Dekia, Pilaku, Sulfur, Cyclops, Thornwood Forest. You can goes on and on and on. So reducing agris, this is good. Hopefully our grind will be easier and our agris will last longer. Monster zone adjustments, rebalance monster zones to reflect changes in combat systems and item balance. Let's see, Deki has Lantern. More DP and HP. So yeah, I guess that means because we're going to be hitting harder. Elvia monster zones, more DP, more HP. Added more Caphras. Oh, Hex Sanctuary, Distos. Primal Giants, Distos. Quint Hill, Distos. That's nice, you get more Distos. General monster zone changes, DP, HP. Tunkata's been changed to a solo monster zone. Added Caphras to Yazirahid Hylids. Debarakas can come from Olinth. Debaraka Earrings. Boss changes, Golden Pig, Sangoon, Gumihu, DP. This is Calamity 8 through 10. Party bosses, adjusted, boss monster DP. Normal plus 12% DP, hard is plus 6%. And they've increased the AP limits from normal to 1,000 and 1,300. Gladios, more DP, AP limits, and Ataraxian, AP limit for Ezekia. Remove the following tags from the menu: Agris Fever, no Agris Fever, and the party zone in Tonkata. Hunting monster balance changes. Change the damage formula for hunting and sniping hunting monsters. Damage is now fixed rather than random between a minimum and maximum value. On average, damage has been increased by about 1 to 2% when back attack and crit hits apply. Okay. So that is the combat system at a glance. I would highly recommend that if you are a tryhard or really know your class, you go through each individual class and you read specific changes. A lot of this is just going to be going to Battle Arena or going out to your favorite grind spot and seeing how it works. I'm really interested to hear from the Node War and Conquest War people on, what effects this has on the diversity of classes, seeing as how that's Pearl Abyss's main goal here. So if you guys have any thoughts, feel free to comment. Feel free to Discord me anytime. Like and subscribe if you would like any content or don't know how to do something and are too lazy to learn it yourself. I'm happy to do a couple-minute video. Have a wonderful day.